This car is so iconic, I don't even need to tell you. It's the Jeep Wrangler. But it is. And even though this new one looks just like the old one, and just like the one before that, and just like the one before that, all the way back to the very first one from World War II, it's been updated. And there have been some big changes. Like there's a new engine, there's new tech, there's new safety equipment, there's even new styling, believe it or not. Now, if you want to read the full review, go to carsguide.com.au, or you could come with me now and we're going to drive it off-road, we're going to climb all over it, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. Let's go.
When a new person starts at Jeep's design department at its headquarters in the United States, they're told two things. Number one, the bathrooms are here. And number two, don't change the design of the Wrangler. Okay, I made that up, but it's probably not far from the truth, because the Wrangler isn't just iconic for Jeep. It's iconic for the entire car world, similar to the Porsche 911 and the Ford Mustang. The Jeep Wrangler looks like a cartoon of a four-wheel drive. That's how familiar and well-known this design is. It's almost entered the world of being generic, like the actual word Jeep. The roots of this SUV stretch all the way back to the little Willys off-roader built for the US Army in World War II. And to this day, the slotted grille, the pronounced wheel guards, the short and upright windscreen, even the removable doors are still with us today in this latest incarnation. Changing the styling completely would destroy the look which connects the Wrangler to its past, and the nostalgic appeal would be gone forever. So this update sees a more than subtle styling change in the form of a tweak to the grille, this time with the addition of a metallic look trim around each of the slots, while the mesh insert now has larger openings. Along with that, there's a new front bumper. The Wranglers that we tested had the optional heavy-duty steel front bumpers. There's also interior changes, in the form of a new dashboard trim, horizontal air vents, and there's this 12.3-inch media display, which goes a long way to making the cabin look more modern. Still, the interior is busy with buttons and switches in a design that seems to mix the look of heavy machinery controls with a prestige car. Look, there's a lot to cover here, the new engine, the way it drives, and the safety and everything like that, so where do we start?
Okay, the Jeep Wrangler range now comes in three different flavours. The entry grade is the Sport S, the middle grade is the Overland, and at the top of the range you've got this, the Rubicon. Now, I'm going to tell you what's new in terms of features, and then I'm going to list all the standard features, the regular features as well. Okay, so new across the range is this. A new windscreen, it's Gorilla Glass, and inside there's a 12.3-inch media touchscreen as well, and that's across the range. Now, in terms of new features for each grade, the Sport S now comes with heated seats, comes with a heated steering wheel and ambient LED lights inside. Stepping up to the Overland, that gets a nicer premium seat interior and power seats as well. And at the top of the range, the Rubicon now has Napa leather. Let me show you the standard features.
Coming standard on the Sport S are LED headlights, 17-inch alloy wheels, a proximity key with push-button start, there's sat-nav, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, there's a 9-speaker Alpine sound system and dark tint windows. Along with its new features, the Overland also comes standard with all of the Sport S's equipment, plus a 3-piece removable hardtop. There's 18-inch wheels, a leather-wrapped steering knob and a leather-wrapped handbrake handle. And then there's the Rubicon, which has all the Sport S features, but has 17-inch alloy wheels instead, and an enormous amount of engineering hardware that makes this grade the off-road king of all Wranglers, and we'll get to that soon.
Probably the biggest new news for the Jeep Wrangler is this. The V6 has gone, and in its place is a 4-cylinder. It's a turbo-petrol 4-cylinder. It makes 200 kilowatts and 400 newton meters. 8-speed auto transmission. Very good transmission, and wait to get to the driving section because this engine does very, very well. 4-wheel drive, ladder frame chassis, capable off-roader. Let's talk fuel economy because that 4-cylinder is way more efficient than the old V6. Jeep says that after a combination of open and urban roads, you should be getting between 9.2 and 9.9 litres per 100. Now look, we haven't tested that yet. We'll get one in the CarsGuide garage, we'll test that for ourselves, but we do know that having tested the V6, we were getting 13 litres per 100 kilometres. So that Turbo 4 will definitely be a lot more fuel efficient. Now, let's go for a drive. We are in the Rubicon here. Now, this is the hardcore Wrangler. Now, all Wranglers are hardcore, but this is like the big boss of the Wranglers. Okay, so let's switch it on, and there we go. Now, first impressions. It's been a while since I've got behind the wheel of a Wrangler, and a whole lot of things are coming back to me that if you haven't driven one before, it'll stick right out straight away. And things like how tiny the windscreen is. I feel like I am looking out through a letterbox, and even the rear vision mirror gets in the way of your visibility. So it really does feel like you are driving a World War II Jeep. What else is there? Look, legroom is actually kind of tight. And like I don't often have that problem sitting up front, and it might be a left-hand drive to right-hand drive thing where the footwell it feels like it's a bit squishy, it's a bit cramped down there. I don't even really have a place to put my left foot when it's not doing anything. I mean, not that it does much anyway. What else is there? Other left-hand drive things I've noticed as well, possibly, the handbrake. It's all the way over here. I almost have to lean over just to put it on and off. Even the screen seems to be orientated towards my passenger and the controls. And what I've noticed is that when you have the forward-facing camera on, you've kind of got to bend a bit to see it. Anyway, those aren't massive issues. Let's go for a drive. All right, so today is the launch of the updated Wrangler, and it's really just a taste test. We've done the off-road course here. We've driven on the road as well. And of course, once we get one of these in the CarsGuide garage, the secret CarsGuide garage, we'll be able to do a whole lot more with it. In fact, our four-wheel driving guru, Marcus Crafty Craft, black belt in four-wheel driving, he will be putting this car through its paces. So today I'm just giving you a little bit of a taste test before he gets his claws into it. All right, so the big question is, how does this new 2-litre turbo 4-cylinder petrol engine cope with off-road and on-road? And I've got to say, when we jumped into these cars straight away, I was amazed at how peppy the engine was and how torquey it was. You put your foot down and the bonnet raises up like a speedboat, and you can do it now for you. And I think it actually suits the character of this car better than the V6. I think the V6 felt just heavy and lumpy. And because the Jeep Wrangler is not an enormous car, it needs something which is a bit more, Jack Russell rather than, Labrador. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think so. Now, as I said today, we've taken the Wrangler Rubicons through this off-road course, and look, they have performed perfectly. That new engine has been absolutely unstoppable, very impressive. It crawls down hills, it crawls up hills, it hasn't missed a beat. Obviously the Rubicon is much better suited to hardcore off-roading than the rest, but the rest are absolutely capable as well, super capable. They all have a ladder frame chassis. They've all got proper four-wheel drive with a low and high range, plenty of ground clearance, and great angles of approach and departure. Oh, that's fun.
The Rubicon comes standard with Jeep's Rock-Track on-demand four-wheel drive system, and this update adds a full-float rear axle. The Sport S and Overland grades have Jeep's Select-Track active on-demand four-wheel drive system.
All right, we have driven off the road. Let's go on the road. Now, if you've driven a Wrangler before, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, listen up, be prepared. Wranglers don't drive like most SUVs. They aren't as comfortable. They don't handle as well. They don't steer as well. And that's because they're pretty much completely built to go off-road. And so they do go on-road, but it's not the same refined experience as you would get in something a little bit less off-road capable, if you know what I mean. So let's talk about the sounds that are coming into the cabin. The tire roar is loud. We're not even going fast and it's windy, I can hear it. That's because we're built like a brick. We've got big chunky tires on. The steering itself is really wandery is the word. It's like herding a cat. Your steering inputs are really just suggestions. Everything else feels quite good. The brake pedal feels good. The accelerator pedal feels good. And at the same time, everything just feels fun. Like I feel like I'm in MASH. Like I look out across the bonnet there and the visibility is, even though the windscreen's kind of tiny, the visibility is still really good. And it is fun. It's a fun thing to drive, even on a road like this. Now, in terms of the engine, that 4-cylinder turbo-petrol is really quite perky. Like you can shift down a gear and the bonnet raises up. And like I mentioned earlier while we were off-roading, I really think that 4-cylinder turbo suits the nature of this car or this SUV so much better as well. It's quite peppy. It's quite keen. It works really, really well. All right, let's talk about safety. Now, the Jeep Wrangler was given a 1-star ANCAP rating in 2019. That's 1 star out of 5. Okay, they added more safety tech to it, like A, B, and blind spot warning, and then they increased that to 3 stars. So still 3 out of 5, which is really not ideal. In this latest update, they've added more safety stuff, important stuff as well. So now you've got curtain airbags which protect both the front and rear passengers, which is, you want that, right? Now, if you're concerned about the safety rating or anything along those lines, you can go to the ANCAP website. They've got a full report there. You can read the crash report, you can read the tech report, everything like that, and make an informed decision. Okay, when it comes to warranty, the Jeep Wrangler is covered by Jeep's 5-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty. Now, it's not 5 years unlimited like a lot of manufacturers offer, but 100,000 Ks, if you're doing more than 20,000 kilometers in a year, you're really clocking the kilometers up. Still, that's something to think about. So it's only a 5-year, 100,000 kilometer, not unlimited, it's 100,000 kilometers. The servicing is really good. It's cap price servicing, and each service is capped at $399, which is actually, have a look around, that's pretty darn good. So that's good as well. Oh yeah, service intervals. Service intervals are every 12 months or 12,000 kilometers. There you go. Now, when it comes to practicality, it is so clear that the people who make these cars use these cars. They go off-road and you can tell. Check out these back doors though. Not very big, still at the same time more practical than the 2-door. The 4-door is a little bit restricted in terms of getting in. I'm 189 centimeters tall, and look, legroom is good, headroom's good too, but it is a little bit restricted by this roll cage which is inside. Protects you, but at the same time it is restrictive. There's chunky handles everywhere. There's places to put bits and pieces so they don't move about while you're going over corrugations. There's chunky dials up front that you can turn easily. This cabin as well is wash out. It's got valves in it which allows water to drain out rather than drain in when you're going across the river. You just wash it out. So they have thought about this completely. Now, in terms of boot space, look at this. Split opening tailgate, which means that you can go to it and just duck in and grab something if it's raining. A decent sized boot. Obviously the boot in the 4-door is bigger than the 2-door, but very decent sized boot as well. That closes first. There you go. Now, what do I think? What's the verdict? Look, like every change which has been made to the Wrangler over the years, each change has just made this thing better without really changing the recipe of success. Look, that engine, I actually think it's better. It's a smarter, a more efficient engine, which actually suits the personality of this SUV better. Got better safety tech, better tech inside the cabin as well. It's just a better car. Jeep Wrangler.